And it's 8 o'clock and we are right on time. Hi, everybody. I hope you've got yourself something to drink and that you're comfortable and you have no distractions. The kids are sitting in front of the TV, husband is watching Netflix or whatever it is, and you have this little bit of time for yourself. I want you to take just 30 minutes or so just to relax and just be with me this evening, and we're going to chat about ADHD from the female perspective. And I think this is a very, very important topic that seems to be coming up more and more. And I haven't seen much of this kind of thing online addressing this issue for ladies and young girls. So I'm going to dive right in. And I'm really not here as an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just somebody who has, I suppose, seen this more and more in the dealings that I have at Elton Academy with children being diagnosed with ADHD and then parents coming to me saying, I think I might also have ADHD because I see so much of myself in my child. And so there lies the I suppose the golden nugget, so to speak. If you can identify yourself as a child in your own child, then there you go. ADHD is definitely hereditary. And another important thing to understand is that ADHD is just as common in boys as it is in girls. A lot of people think that ADHD is a male thing, but it's not. It's just as equally found in the girls as well. So yeah, my name is Philippa Fabry. I just want to start by thanking my sponsors. Oh wait, don't have any sponsors. My name is Philippa Fabry. I'm an education consultant. I'm a director at Elton Academy in Port Elizabeth, and I have ADHD. Just a little bit of background information. I actually landed up at the doctor with what I thought was just anxiety. I was having panic attacks. I was stressed. And we thought that I needed something just to help me with anxiety. And it turned out that I actually have ADHD or have ADHD. And that was in my 40s. So, yeah, I like I said, I want you to be here with me. Just the girls here tonight. So I hope you've got yourself something to sip on. I've got my glass of wine in my beautiful crystal glass. This is my very special glass that only I'm allowed to use at home. So I've got my glass of wine. I'd like to know what you have. You can pop in the comments. What are you drinking? Come on, share. Let's hear what it's just a full disclosure here. So ladies, like I said, I'm not an expert. I want to try and help. I think that there are a lot of people who are dealing with this sort of feeling that something's not quite right. That possibly, we think of it as stress, we think of it as anxiety, we think of it as depression, but there is often an underlying ADHD there. And really, we're just here to share. Oh, sorry, Gary. Yeah, it was just the girls, but hopefully Tanya is not far away. But it's nice to have you. Leanne, oh good, lime and soda. And Quality Street. Lucky lady. I saw Quality Street on special at Spa for 99 Rand today. I nearly bought myself one, but I didn't. But yeah, back to ADHD. So I have some props that I'm going to be showing. I have an apple because I'm going to be talking about ADHD in terms of a persona. And the persona that I've chosen for ADHD is Eve. So when I talk about Eve, it's basically a lady who could possibly have ADHD, and you might see yourself in this lady that I'm going to be introducing tonight. So I've got my apple, and it was supposed to be a red shiny apple, but I didn't have a red shiny apple. It's a green one. So whoops. Morgan, you are drinking coffee. Okay, that's good. I'm also a coffee snob. I have to admit. No instant stuff for me, only the good stuff. All right, so let's delve in. So ADHD. Yeah, I think that there are three subtypes of ADHD. And if you just stick with me a little bit longer, I'm going to be giving out a checklist at the end that you can download and just go through yourself and see if any of the symptoms ring true for you. This is not a diagnosis, but it could possibly lend lend you or move you towards possibly going and speaking to your doctor, or even just trying some natural remedies. Doesn't necessarily mean to say that you have to go to a doctor and get medication, but you certainly, then it just helps you to be more aware of what it is, so that you are not so hard on yourself. Because I think, as ladies trying to do it all, we often are very hard on ourselves, and we need to cut ourselves some slack at some point. So let's delve in. So ADHD, there are three subtypes, and like I said, ADHD is hereditary. It's just as common in girls as it is in boys, and it does run in families. So if your child has been diagnosed with ADHD, chances are either you or hubby has it, or the partner or the dad. So that's just something to be aware of. The three subtypes, you've got predominantly or largely the inattentive type, the daydreamy, spacey, ditzy, kind of forgetful, disorganized type of person. And then you have the predominantly hyperactive, which is more me. I'm more the hyperactive. I never stop. I feel like I'm constantly on a treadmill. And it's pretty much difficult for me to switch off and relax, but that's just, I'm more the hyperactive. So you're either the hyperactive predominantly or the inattentive predominantly, and then the third subtype is a combination of all three, or the combination of the two. So you could be ADHD with inattention and hyperactivity. So those are the three main subtypes. Like I said, I'm going to be posting if you put your email down for me in the comments, I'll be able to email you that PDF, and you can then download it or print it out and go through that checklist, and you'll find it very, very interesting. Because remember, we're dealing with females, we're dealing with women and girls. So in a little while, I'm going to be talking about hormones and hormone fluctuations and how that might affect ADHD as well. So yes, like I said, we're talking about a lady with ADHD. We're calling her Eve. She's a perfectionist. Okay, she wants everything to be perfect. She tries so hard to be perfect in every way. She wants to be the Wonder Woman. She wants to be somebody that is always supporting and rescuing everybody else. She tries so hard. This Eve tries so hard to do it all. She wants to be the perfect husband, the perfect wife, the perfect husband. She wants to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect colleague, the perfect friend. And she's really, really hard on herself if she lets anybody down. So it takes a lot of time and energy for Eve to constantly make sure that she doesn't drop the ball. Okay. There's a constant juggling going on, fetching kids, making sure that she doesn't miss appointments, making sure that she's on time, getting deadlines done, being proactive and productive at work, doing the groceries, making sure that everything is happening, because, we have to constantly make sure that we are just perfect in every way. I think as women, we compare ourselves all the time to other women, and we see how other people seem to be doing everything so well, and we are constantly having to live up to those high expectations of being perfect in every single way. So it takes a lot of time and energy for us to be that perfect person. So I have another prop. I have this beautiful gold box, and it looks so beautiful on the outside. Can you see? It's a Ferrero Rocher chocolate. It's so beautiful, perfect. It's shiny. There isn't a scratch on the box. If you look at it, it's just absolutely perfect in every way. And we as females, we put on this facade of being perfect in every way. There's not a hair out of place. Our skin is perfect. We want our nails to be perfect. Everything needs to be just absolutely fine. When I open the box, obviously, there are no chocolates inside. But what I do have inside is my peaceful sleep. Because another thing about ADHD is that we really struggle to sleep. We struggle to switch off and go to bed and be able to fall asleep or stay asleep and have a good night's sleep. Often we are very restless sleepers. We take a long time to fall asleep, and we might need something to help us go to sleep. which could be a glass of wine, it could be some marijuana, it could be a sleeping tablet, it could be more than one glass of wine, but we struggle to sleep. That's one of the symptoms of ADHD. So we go to the doctor, we get a prescription for sleeping tablets because we can't sleep. But actually, it's not a sleep disorder. It's not an anxiety disorder. It's not even depression. It's something else. It's the elephant in the room, which often we don't know what it's called. So moving on to girls now. So girls, the kind of symptoms or what you might see in your daughter, if you've got a daughter, is that they have a low self-esteem. Again, they are constantly comparing themselves to the other girls in the class. They're very competitive. They're constantly competing. They might do extremely well at school in the primary school phase, but as soon as they get to high school, then often the wheels fall off the bus. There could be bullying that happens, verbal aggression that happens between girls, that sort of cattiness, always trying to be the queen bee. She's a social butterfly. She's a drama queen. There's all kinds of sort of other issues going on under the radar that aren't always visible. The inattention, again, is quite an issue, especially as they get into high school, that they struggle to pay attention. The teacher might complain of them being daydreamy, spacey, again, ditzy, forgetful. So yeah, those are the kind of issues that seem to come into play in high school, for girls anyway, specifically. So some of the other symptoms that, again, an older woman or a young girl might see, they might be called ditzy blondes, or, she blows hot and cold. You know that song, Katy Perry, I'm hot or I'm cold? So there's this sort of mood swings all the time, that they might be, approachable one day and then very aloof and offish the next day. And often mood disorders are, again, or borderline personality disorders might be diagnosed, because we're looking at the outside of things. We're looking at what's going on the outside. We're not looking at what's going on the inside. And remember that girls tend to internalize and boys tend to externalize, which is why obviously often ADHD goes unnoticed or undetected, because as girls, we tend to cover up very well. We put on this act. We are able to hide behind our mask, whereas boys, not so much. So boys tend to be the overactive, sort of restless, running around like a hooligan climbing the walls. They are more the external aggression, sort of more type of hyperactive type persona, whereas girls, we are more internal. We internalize our emotions, and things just tend to sort of bubble underneath the surface until we explode. Another prop, I have my inhale, exhale t-shirt, because we also need to learn to breathe and take slow breaths. Sometimes we forget to breathe. So when we move on to I've got to find where I am in my diagram. Look at my diagram. It's all over the place. Can you see that? Doesn't make any sense, I'm sure, to you, but it does to me. Right, moving on. So we're going to go to some of the hormonal or the hormone issues. That's why I said, girls, this is just for us, because boys don't have problems with estrogen and progesterone and things like that. But when we get to puberty, then obviously the hormones are all over the place. And what happens with, especially with us girls, when we hit perimenopause or premenopause, then the hormones are all over the place. So again, we tend to run to the gynecologist, or we tend to run to the doctor because we want something to help us sleep, or we want something to help us with our moods or our depression or our anxiety. But it's not, it isn't necessarily hormones, it's actually the ADHD. So, again, we've really got to look at testing, proper diagnosis, and not just look at what are the external symptoms, or how are we feeling, what are we presenting as. We've really got to be looking at, If it is hormones, then do a blood test, and the blood test will tell you if your hormones are out of sync. Um, so it's so important that we really listen to our bodies, listen to what our bodies are telling us, and try and, diagnose what is actually going on there. So when we're looking at our later years, and obviously hormones will start playing a role, then we might struggle with sleep, we might struggle with our moods and our depression and anxiety and things like that. So it's so important to go to the right doctor, and to have these checklists that you go through for yourself, and make sure that there is there is something that you can do about how you're feeling. I just want to get to a question. Teresa's asking, do you have a creche or play school as well? No, Teresa, I don't. Elton Academy is a grade 1 to 12 school in Port Elizabeth, specializing in children with learning barriers. And yeah, starting from grade 1. We don't have a preschool at this point. So as I mentioned, I'm going to move over to my other notes now, because there was quite a lot that I wanted to read to you, and apologies for my glasses, but I'm old. So if you have a look at this picture, I don't know if you can identify with that lady there. Okay, can you see that? There's lots going on there. Okay. Now, if you consider that picture, okay, she's rushing around trying to get her kids somewhere. Okay, there's a clock on the wall. She's dropping things all over the place. Her hair is all disheveled. She's dropping things out of her handbag. She's got all kinds of things falling out of her handbag. She's got a Lego block, an apple, a hairbrush, a ruler. Her son has got half-eaten food that is being dragged along from to wherever he's trying to get to. There's a soccer ball, so she's obviously trying to get her kids to sport after school. And while she's struggling to get her kids to sport after school, she's trying to do homework in the car. So does that sound familiar? Because it certainly sounds like many of the parents that I come across. Again, trying to do it all, trying to fill every single gap in the day with something productive. We can't have gaps in the day. We've got to be move, 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 move. Get our kids everywhere. Be the perfect mother. Make sure that they're involved in drama, art, karate, soccer. Make sure that they're all doing what everybody else's kids are doing. We've got to make sure that we do the same. And that isn't always the right way. Sometimes kids also need to take a breath. Take a breath. My other prop is I've got a pawn, a chess pawn here. All right. Again, it's probably the least valuable piece. I'm not going to quote from Queen's Gambit now, but I hope you've seen that movie, by the way. That's a series. It's blimmin' good. So my pawn signifies the fact that sometimes we feel like we're a pawn on the chessboard. We're trying to do it all. We're trying to cover so much ground. We're trying to protect the people that we love. We're moving, one step forward and sometimes two steps forward, and we're going all over the place, but we really feel completely useless, like we're just a pawn. We have no value. So we constantly compare ourselves. We say, well, I wish I could be the queen. I wish I could be the knight, I wish it could be something else, but actually we're a pawn. But the pawn is also has got such an important value on the chessboard as well. So we need to make sure that we don't cut ourselves short, that we don't constantly compare ourselves to others. And when it comes to, if we do drop the ball every now and again, and we will drop the ball, of course you're going to miss that meeting, or be late for that function, or oversleep, or because that's human nature, and we're allowed to do that. And that's part of how we need to forgive ourselves, and how we need to live with this condition, because it isn't going to go away. It's not something that's curable. It's something that can be very well managed, but it's not something that you can cure. And my previous talk that I did was called ADHD, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I actually changed that to the good, the bad, and the extraordinary, because I think there are some extraordinary people that are living with ADHD that have done incredible things. And it's those people that we say, I've got ADHD. I'm somebody that's not going to color in the lines. Well, you might not color in the lines, but you're going to draw the picture for other people to color in the lines. That's the kind of people that we are. We don't we dance to a different tune, absolutely, without a doubt. So I'm going to move on to Eve. I'm going to sort of talk about a couple more things that might seem familiar to you in terms of a female persona with ADHD. So she's a daydreamer. She has her head in the clouds. She's a social butterfly, a drama queen. She blows hot and cold. She's a free spirit. She's disorganized, always fashionably late. And people say there's a bumper sticker that I've seen that says cute but psycho. And that is spot on because, again, people or ladies with females with ADHD, free spirit, that means they're not going to dance to your tune. They're going to dance to their own tune that they have in their heads. And people will sometimes misinterpret that as, there's something wrong. She's alternative, or she's a non-conformist, or she's not going to live by those rules. She's got her own rules, and that's okay. So rather than risk being inappropriate, that's the other thing. Rather than risk being inappropriate, Eve will struggle to often be outwardly honest with her emotions. She'll internalize everything and hold everything in. And then the minute she gets home and she closes that door, then everything just sort of explodes. And either a spouse or partner or the kids will get the brunt of how she's feeling. That frustration is something that she can't hold in forever. It's going to eventually bubble out and will explode in a tantrum or a fit of rage or whatever it might be called. And those outbursts then make her feel even more upset with herself that she actually now ended up having a huge big argument. And again, I'm not perfect. I sort of I became human and I gave my husband a hard time, or I shouted at the kids or whatever, so she feels even more guilty, and that whole self-esteem is like a vicious circle. Also, with regards to trying to keep everything above board, making sure that housework is done, that the laundry is done, that supper's on the table, that the shopping is done, all those kind of things. If she drops the ball, she gives herself a hard time about that. The chronic stress, often prescription medications are the next thing. So like I said, she'll go to the doctor, she'll complain about the fact that she's maybe irritable, or she might have a mood issue, or she's depressed, or she has panic attacks that come from nowhere. And so the doctor will prescribe something for those without thinking, okay, maybe I need something for the ADHD, and then it will manage all the other things that I'm feeling. So we spoke about menopause and the ADHD symptoms that could, I'm not saying that they always will, but they could become more intense during menopause as the estrogen levels drop. So again, one has to just be very careful to manage things like sleep, energy levels, your moods, all those kind of things as well. So the better we get at hiding what's going on inside, we often tend to put the lid on a bubbling pot until the pot just eventually bursts open. So we don't talk about things that are going wrong. We want to try and keep everything under wraps. We talk about the suffering that Eve might feel, and she wants to keep that as her best kept secret. So she tends to distance herself. She hides her despair from her partner. She believes that she's unworthy. And again, here I've also spoken about the abusive relationships that women with ADHD get into, because they feel that they're not worthy to have a decent relationship. So they end up being in a relationship with somebody who is not necessarily right for her. And so the abuse, and so she endures the abuse, whether it's physical or verbal abuse. She endures that because her self-esteem is so low. She feels so unworthy that she doesn't deserve anything better than that. So the hopelessness, and that coupled with impulsivity, often there's self-harm that comes into play. There might be alcohol abuse. There might be gambling. There might be ways and means of trying to just escape the reality that she sees herself. There often are even suicidal thoughts. and attempts, which is dreadful, because this kind of thing can so easily be helped. Um, so, like I said, ADHD is not a sickness; it's not a disease. It's simply brain wiring that is different to the next person. So, your brain is just wired completely differently to somebody who doesn't have ADHD. So, in terms of trying to cope with ADHD or live with ADHD, it's about awareness. It's about understanding why you're feeling like you are, or why you do what you do, and accepting that this is something that I have, and it's just about managing it so that I can get on with what I need to do and be the best version of myself. Because at the end of the day, it's treatable, whether we're going and we're talking about prescription medication or therapy or counseling or exercise, or all of those things are important. Finding the right balance of what is going to work for you. Um, so I said, visit a practitioner, visit a doctor who specializes in ADHD. Somebody who is going to listen to what you have to say, who's going to look at you holistically and not just going to write out a script for anxiety because he thinks that that's what you have. But look at the whole picture. Look at your sleep. Look at your moods. Look at your energy levels. Look at how are you eating? Is your appetite affected? Are you not eating? Are you eating too much? What is actually going on there? um, and then get a proper diagnosis, and speak to people who also can understand what you're going through. And it's about finding your tribe. And I think I'm hoping that through this kind of thing, we can find our tribe of ladies who we all feel the same kind of thing. I'm not talking about a support group. I'm not talking about we sit around in a circle and we share, but it's about just being aware of that you're not alone. That's the one thing. You're not alone. You are part of a group of absolutely amazing females living with ADHD. And it's about really making sure that you live the best version of yourself, and that nobody puts you in a box, because we're not made for boxes. My other little prop I've got is this little piece of rubber that's very bendy and flexible. And this is to remind me that I am not, I need to be able to bend, and I need to be able to bounce back if I drop. I'm not going to crack. I'm going to bend. I'm going to bounce back. I'm resilient. Um, and how I deal with my life experiences, your attitude is the most important thing. If your attitude is positive and you go through life with a positive attitude, you can absolutely conquer the world. You can do whatever you want to do. Um, so getting back to some of the symptoms that Eve might complain of, I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place. Oh, and there was something else I wanted to show you. I have one more prop. So if any of these symptoms ring true for you, all right, inattentive symptoms, internalizing symptoms, emotional dysregulation. In other words, there's no regular, you are not a flat profile. There's ups and downs, highs and lows, hots and colds all the time. A late adolescent onset, so you may have been a late bloomer. You have low self-esteem. You might have an eating dysregulation. You might have an eating disorder. In other words, you don't eat enough, or you eat too much. Chronic anxiety, chronic relationship problems, perfectionistic behavior, substance dependence, sensory hypersensitive. That's another one I didn't talk about. Sensory hypersensitivities means lights are too bright, noises are too loud, shopping centers are too busy. You avoid places that you tend to feel sensory overload. You prefer not to be in those environments, so you avoid sensory hyperstimulation. Chronic restlessness, you struggle to sit still, you struggle to sit and relax, you struggle at the end of the day to just relax on the couch and watch TV with the rest of the family. You either shaking your leg, wobbling your leg, or up and down in the kitchen, back, sitting on the couch, up, down, you struggle to relax. So I'm not saying that you have hyperactivity, but I'm just saying there might be an underlying restlessness that you have there. You might have episodes of rage or tears. You might be frequently irritable. Um, picking behaviors. In other words, you might pick the skin on your finger. You might bite your nails. You might pull your hair. Those kind of things are sometimes part of the sort of the symptom list. and intense premenstrual symptoms. So when you're premenstrual, your moods are really up and down all over the place, and that's also something to be aware of. My last prop is, ladies, if you don't use a planner like this, you see my planner. Nothing is written on it yet because this is December. Where can you see there? That's December. There. And at the moment, I have nothing going on in December other than I know that there's Christmas on the 25th. Oh, I know that I have our school matric dance on the 11th of December. But other than that, I don't have anything else. But that during the course of the year would be filled with stuff. I write everything on there. I don't do anything without my planner. I have a whiteboard marker and I make appointments on that, and I make appointments in my diary. So, ladies, if you struggle with organization and time management and all of that, you really do need to stick to your diary and stick to something like this and put this where you can see it, your planner that you can write on and wipe off after the month. Okay, we've gone half an hour. I know with ADHD, we don't have a lot of attention. We don't have a lot of concentration. Are there any questions? Now is your time. Now is your time. Please tell me who you are. I can see that there are people watching, but I have no idea who's watching. Please put your name in the comments. I feel very lonely here. I'm going to have a quick sip of my wine. Please tell me who you are. Tell me where you're from. It's your turn now. It's questions. Come on, I know you're there. CBD worth a try over pills. Johan? CBD. Oh, CBD oil. I presume you're referring to CBD oil. Worth a try over pills. Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with CBD oil. But I do hear I have heard that that it can definitely help with anxiety, sleep disorders, that kind of thing. So if there's anything, maybe you have a link you want to share with us, where we can find out more about CBD. Who's watching? I'd love to hear from you. Do you have a question about ADHD? Do you have an experience you'd like to share? Morgan, I'm starting to be a teacher at NMU, and someone thought this would be interesting for me to watch. I really hope it is interesting for you to watch, Morgan. Please go to my Facebook page, Philippa Fabry Education Consultant. It's a Facebook page, and there are loads of resources on there. I write articles at least every week. I do these videos at least twice a month, normally on a Wednesday webinar. And I've got loads of resources. It's awesome to hear you studying to be a teacher. Morgan, can you tell me, are you teaching a foundation phase, intermediate phase, high school? I'd love to hear. And here's another message. Oh, I've answered that one already. Okay. So, yeah, like I said, I hope you will, if there's anything, next one, I'm going to be doing more about managing of ADHD, and talking about it, ADHD. I'm really not going to do a webinar for the guys because they don't watch webinars and guys don't read. So what I'm going to do, I think for the guys, is just do an infographic on ADHD for men, a little infographic, which is a one-pager, and that's going to be my next thing, is the comparison between ADHD in girls and boys. The ADHD, we've done girls. Next week we're going to do boys. Interesting people who have ADHD. I was also looking up Whoopi Goldberg has ADHD. Keira Knightley has ADHD, self-proclaimed ADHD. So does what is her name? Taylor Swift. And the other one is Paris Hilton. These are all celebrities that have ADHD. Thank you, Louise. You're such an inspiration. Well, I do a lot of reading. You see, I do a lot of reading. I'm fascinated with this kind of thing. So I love to read. I love to learn. I never stop. And so I want to help. I really want to help people, which is why I started Philippa Fabry Education Consultant, because if I'm helping kids, generally the kids have parents, and the parents also need support and assistance. So yes, I that is my goal, is to just send out um, little snippets of information, support and assistance for parents and children who are struggling for whatever reason. And if I can help a parent and if I can help a child, then that's really what I want to do. So my page is free. I put resources up there all the time. You can download. And like I said, if you want me to send you that PDF, please put your email in the comments. I'll send you that PDF with that symptom checklist. And you can certainly share that with other people as well. It gives you a really good breakdown. I mean, I've just literally rambled through some of the symptoms, but there are a lot more that you can sort of tick and see whether it relates to you. Bernice, insightful, thank you. More info on ADHD. Yes, so like I said, I will do more on ADHD men, but men don't like webinars, and they certainly don't like to read. Gino, you don't read. So I will be doing a little infographic that I will be posting on Facebook. And then my last little part, which will be part 4, we'll be talking about children with ADHD. So this is part 2. Part 3 will be the boys, and then part 4 will be children with ADHD. And because I think the management is the same, whether you're a female or a male, the management is all about first identifying that, okay, this is it, this is me, this is what I have. And then how are you going to deal with it? And I've spoken about diaries, I've spoken about planners, medication, exercise, mindfulness, making sure that you are able to just, breathe, exhale, inhale, exhale. Take a moment. Please don't try and be Wonder Woman. You're not going to be any use to anyone if you burn yourself out and don't look after yourself. So yeah, please put your email in the comments. Go to my Facebook page. Let me help you. Let me send you that PDF. Sign up for getting more information. Follow me on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn, Philippa Fabry. I'm also on, I'm not on Instagram. I will try and get on Instagram, but I'm mainly Facebook and Instagram. Facebook and LinkedIn. So you can find me there. Any more questions? Last thing. I've always been fascinated by special needs and actually did one of my practicals at Elson. Oh, right, Morgan, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I really hope to bump into you there maybe one day. It'll be lovely. Any more questions? Come on, somebody must have a question. I'm having another sip of wine. No more questions. Have I helped anybody get more clarification on why they are feeling like they are, or why they are doing what they do, or why they do what they do? How early do ADHD symptoms present in girls? Can you recognize them in preschoolers? Yes, you can. Yes, Leanne, you definitely can in preschoolers, although you can only formally get a diagnosis, I think, at the age of 6 or 7. The DSM-5, which is the gold standard book that doctors use or psychologists use, they will only the symptoms are there from, I think, 6 to 12, I think it is, or 6 to 18 or something like that. I can't remember. So there aren't proper symptoms for adults, which is why adults often don't recognize themselves with ADHD. And most doctors won't start medication before the age of 6. That's, I think, what I know of in terms of age. But yes, you can recognize them in preschoolers, definitely. Anything else? 39 minutes. I'm going to end off very, very soon. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope this has been interesting. I hope it hasn't been boring. I've really tried to make it interesting with my props. My apple for Eve. What's in the box? Don't put on the facade that you miss Wonder Woman and perfect. Make sure you get enough sleep. Make sure you don't get enough sleep. There's amazing resources out there if you are struggling to fall asleep. Listen to a podcast, listen to music. Matthew McConaughey has a gorgeous bedtime story app that you can just listen to Matthew McConaughey and fall asleep. How cool is that? There are lots of ways and means. Go for a massage, do your yoga, mindfulness, make sure you have a routine, stick to it, all those kind of things. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for joining me and having a glass of wine with me. Or what did you have? Coffee or lime and soda? Or what is the other person who was drinking coffee, lime and soda? Yeah. Okay. Well, I was the rebel with the glass of wine. So one day Wednesday. One day Wednesday. Sean Foster. Okay, Sean, I will send you that PDF. If you want that PDF, please put your name in the comments, put your email down, and look out for my next one, which will be on ADHD in men. No, it's going to be ADHD in children. So we'll see you then. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great evening. Bye.